Welcome to the Cork Creative Podcast. With this podcast, we hope to shine a light on the great work being done in local businesses. If you would like to learn more, please visit corkcreative.ie. We have been interviewing local creatives and business people over the past year and have listened to some great advice and lessons learned. With that in mind, we have decided to do a series on business supports and delve into the local offerings that can aid both new and established businesses. Today we speak to Fiona Ryan from the Ludgate Hub in Skibbereen. Fiona is the Start Up and Entrepreneurship Manager at Ludgate. So in this episode we tap into her insights for post-COVID trends for business, how the Ludgate is shaping its own path from those trends, and how it facilitates and supports local business and the wider community across the generations. You're very welcome to Cork Creative, Fiona.
Thanks, Geraldine.
Tell us the story of Ludgate and how you came to be the Startup and Entrepreneurship Manager.
Yeah, so Ludgate started in 2015. We were very fortunate to be given the building by a local businessman. It was formerly a cinema and then it was a bakery before it became the 10,000 square foot co-working facility that it is today. So here in Ludgate, we have anchor tenants. We have members, both full-time and part-time. And we've also got hot deskers. So that's extremely popular in the holiday season. So in the summer here, it's always jammers where people who are on holidays and they're trying to have that hybrid approach to work and enjoying West Cork during the holiday season. In terms of myself, I came to Ludgate, I came to Ludgate in 2018 with Spearline Risk and Compliance at the time, and I was working here as a member of Ludgate. So I've seen Ludgate from both sides of the table as a member working here, but also as the Startup and Entrepreneurship Manager that I am today. In 2020, I started in a part-time capacity as the funding manager. So I was looking after bringing in the money from whatever source I could and what was the appropriate source to fund the programs that we have here. And then that evolved then from the part-time funding role through to the Startup and Entrepreneurship Manager, which I commenced in September 2021. And that brings us up to present day. So I'm in a full-time capacity now here in Ludgate and enjoying it.
Very good. Fiona, tell us, Ludgate is very much a product of the community leaders coming together to support the town and local enterprise. Do you regard yourselves as custodians of the project for Skibbereen?
Absolutely. So it's not just about what's within these four walls here in Ludgate. It's about what we're doing within the community and giving effect to the various cross-cutting measures, the various enterprise plans that have been developed by government. So tying everything that we do into the goals, into the KPIs that are identified in those policies and really giving effect to them on a regional basis. That's what Ludgate is about. It's about creating economic impact. It's about creating jobs, a sustainable future for our children. So as a result of that, we have developed various pillars here. We have the agri and food pillar, we have the education pillar, and with the startup and business development pillar. The education pillar looks at our children in our primary and our secondary schools. So we've developed Google for Education and Microsoft 365 and installed them within our 16 primary cluster schools and 3 secondary schools. We have a maths program that's going to be launched later on in the year as well for transition year upwards, which will be housed on our learning management system, which is the Ludgate Canva system. And again, that'll be rolled out to the schools and will help the secondary school students with their maths programme and really prepare them for the Leaving Cert. We've got the Silver Surfers, so enhancing digital skills in the elderly population in the West Cork region. And we run that with Vodafone every summer. And then we've also got our Lego camps. So really, it's everything that we do, we're doing it across generations. It's not just focused on the adult population because we know that we need to be creating that environment, that ecosystem for the younger people in our community as well.
Okay. And a question you've probably often answered, but for listeners unfamiliar with Ludgate, what do you offer those considering remote working and putting the commute and fuel bills behind them?
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question coming out of the pandemic. So I think people have had time to sit back and reassess where they are at with their lives, where they're at with their businesses and their jobs. They want to be near home. They don't want those long commutes any longer, but they want a flexible environment and a flexible solution. And so Ludgate has had to adapt to that environment. And we have created flexible packages in terms of part-time membership. If people don't want to be here 100% of the time, they can take out part-time membership, enjoy it for maybe 2-3 days of the week, and then work the remainder in the office or at home. And that hybrid approach, I think, is really the trend that we're seeing. And it's how we've adapted here in terms of making sure that we can facilitate those employees based rurally, whether it be for companies in the city or whether it be for multinationals, that we can help them to achieve their goals within their work.
And it's definitely, I suppose, a big thing coming out of the pandemic now is people moving maybe out of like big city centres like Dublin, Cork, and moving into more of a rural and a lot of the time more affordable lifestyle, but having to balance that with maybe having somewhere to come like the Ludgate, just to have that bit of a work-life balance.
Yeah, it's good for interaction. I always say, communication doesn't come easy to everybody, and it's a skill set for sure. And if you're 100% in the home, then I think that skill set is a little bit lost.
Yes.
And it's not something that the virtual environment can pick up on. In a virtual environment, you have to stay silent for a certain length of time while somebody else speaks, or there might be a team on the call, and you really have to listen for a certain length of time. Whereas when you're face to face, that communication skill set is activated, and we like to think of that we enhance that in Ludgate. Yeah. It's the water cooler moments. It's in the kitchen there at the coffee machine and talking to somebody, and you never know, you might learn something. There might be an opportunity that comes from that conversation, and that's as good as any really in terms of co-working facility as to what can be nurtured.
I suppose sometimes, like being at home, I love working from home, but I know because of COVID, I've kind of probably lost a few of my good communication skills because I'm at home all the time, most of the time by myself, excluding when I'm on virtual calls or whatever, when I'm coming out and about. And sometimes you kind of lose that little bit of yourself. Yeah. And sometimes you need to be able to talk to people, and even networking, just meeting people kind of casually, it can mean an awful lot to someone's business, both like from a business point of view and personally, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Because I even think about when I came back from maternity leave. So I had my last baby in November 2019. So when I came back in here on a part-time basis, I do remember coming in, probably was just babbling away. A little bit like I'm doing now, Geraldine. But for sure, I felt that skill set had been lost a little bit. Yeah. And it took me a few weeks to get it back. And I like to talk, but it was suddenly transitioning from the nursery rhymes, goo gaga, to actually getting down to business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what supports does Ludgate have for startup businesses?
Yeah, so I like to think of this as a very hands-on support program that we've developed. And it has been developed since 2021, since September 2021, and we're continuing to add to it. So a great amount of work has been done to support enterprises in the region. As I said before, it's not just about the four walls, it's about attracting people from the outside in as well. So we have the knowledge and skills sharing events like the Propeller series, which is once a month now, again, focusing on communication. So it's all the relevant areas for business that we are looking at for the Propeller series. And it's a cross sector, it's cross industries. So we're not just solving for one, we have to solve for many because we're in a rural location. It's not all tech companies, it's not all graphic designers, it's many, it's not all food businesses. So we really want to nurture them all as best as we can. We've got a collaborative workspace here in the Ludgate, and we just spoke there about what that collaboration can bring, as in opportunities. And we've also got the free day pass for startups. We've got free financial advice and support from our partner BKK. We have funding advice as well through Spark Crowdfunding and AIB. We have marketing support. We have sales and strategy development support. So very much, if you want it to be, it can be an additional resource to your team. We can be as hands-on as you want us to be, or as hands-off as you want us to be. So it really depends on the business and what they want to tap into. So once they're within the Ludgate ecosystem, they can tap into those various supports that I've outlined there.
Yeah, I suppose like for a lot of startup businesses, they might just not have all the skill set, but you might be able to steer them in the right direction, I suppose.
Exactly. And, the networking opportunities are brilliant, but also we've a new startup business now in Ludgate, and they're looking at promoting their business outside of West Cork. And how do they get the audience? Well, Connected Hubs is also another platform that is great to reach a national audience around the country. So we can do that. We can do the Member Spotlight series. We launch our new businesses through our social media platforms and try and generate as much interest for them as well. So all of that support is available in the Ludgate Hub.
Very good. And how has the pandemic shaped Ludgate's approach to work and offerings to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so as I said previously, you know, in March 2020, it was really a case of people had time to reassess how they were going about business, their job, their life, their work-life balance. Some people didn't want the 9 to 5 anymore. They wanted flexibility. They wanted to start their own business and pursue their own passion, or maybe they wanted less of a commute time. So that level of a result from the pandemic has resulted in a surge of new businesses. So what we saw with the CRO is in 2020 and the first half of 2021, there was a large number of new businesses that were registered. Mm-hmm. So people had creative juices flowing again because they had the time. So a lot of entrepreneurs sprung up as a result of the pandemic, and Ludgate had to be flexible in terms of our offering in order to meet those entrepreneurs and meet their requirements. One of the trends that we have seen coming is the work near home. It's not saying it's from home, it's work near home. So that is a trend that we believe is going to be here to stay. I know that an awful lot of hubs and e-centres and BCPs have sprung up around the country in order to meet that demand and that trend. And even in the cities, they're offering the co-working space, they're offering more flexibility so that, you know, you can go between different co-working spaces. So let's say a company takes out membership with, let's say, WeWork, and they're definitely doing this in London. The employee can decide then which WeWork they're going to sit in, which one is the most convenient for them, or if they want to go to another one another day to experience something different, they can do that. So again, I think the environment is adapting to the results of the pandemic, to the trends that have emerged. And another great thing that has emerged is the diversification of the skill set that it has brought, the diversification of the workforce. So we're seeing people coming out of the cities, relocating rurally for one reason or another, and they bring skill sets with them, and they bring incredible knowledge, which is fantastic for the area. But also they're usually in higher paid positions, so the economic impact of those jobs, whether they be rurally based or not, is fantastic on the local businesses. So we're seeing that firsthand. Was there a mass exodus? No, I don't think so. Was there some? Absolutely, because I know of some, and we know of some, and definitely from dealing with the schools, you know, we're capturing that data if there's kids coming to the region. And I think the upcoming census as well will really allow us to update our data points and our data sets as well.
So that all that information is vital for you to kind of come up with how to continually improve, how to continually meet the needs of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And that could be investing in the facilities here, investing in the equipment. We bought an ideation screen. It was actually funded through Connected Hubs. And that ideation screen allows teams to collaborate virtually. So people don't have to travel to the city to meet their colleagues. They can do it quite effectively from a rural location, from the likes of Ludgate.
And it allows people to work smarter, I suppose, use their time more effectively, like really than spending hours in the car every day, you know.
Yeah. And if you're starting out in business, those hours matter because you could be focusing on ideation, product development, teasing out ideas with suppliers. You could be actually on the phone making phone calls to potential customers and closing out sales. And that's so important. Yes, face-to-face is brilliant, and there is a space for that. And a lot of traditional industries will want people back in the offices, will want the face-to-face engagement. But if we look at the likes of Grow Remote and we look at the jobs pages, jobs.ie, Indeed, any of those that have advertised vacancies, we're seeing time and time again that they are putting in brackets beside it hybrid or fully remote.
Yeah, it's the buzzword, isn't it? Hybrid at the moment, like it is the buzzword for working, I think, What trends do you see developing from the last 18 months, and what challenges and opportunities does this present to Ludgate?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest trend is working near home. And as I said before, it's not working from home. It's working near home is the various publications that I have read. And that's not just because I'm sitting in Ludgate and I don't want people working from home. I think that that's fantastic if people can work from home. But it's the reduction of the commuting time. That's what people really want. They don't want the waste of time in a car. And for sure, Ludgate sees the near home cohort as our particular marketplace. That's the market that we're trying to speak to. But also the distributed workforce, as I said before, the economic impact on local businesses here, that's phenomenal. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah.
You know, people get much more connected as well with their neighbourhoods when they're in a rural location. So that sort of connectivity will grow, and that sort of connections within neighbourhoods will grow as a result of the pandemic. People are talking again. People are exploring, you know, what does the neighbour do? Whereas, you know, I lived in the city and I wouldn't have known what my next door neighbour did. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know who lived 2 doors down, never mind 1 door down. So I think that will be something for sure that we'll see spring up, is the conversations that people are having within the neighbourhoods, the ideas that are being generated, the community activity and the community involvement. That's for sure a trend, and hopefully Ludgate can capture that as well through our various networking events, and bringing them in closer as well to Ludgate.
Okay. And what lifestyle advantages does West Cork and Skibbereen offer?
Lots. So obviously we're on the Wild Atlantic Way.
Yeah.
We're surrounded here in Skibbereen. We have a beautiful town ourselves, but we're surrounded by Glandore, Baltimore, Bantry, Clonakilty, Rosscarbery, all the fantastic eateries that those towns have. And the place just comes to life, especially in the summertime. I think, it's the supportive community that I have to really highlight that. So aside from all of the holidays and the good times here, you really have a supportive community. But then the attractive point for West Cork is obviously the beaches. It's being able to go out to Lochine at lunchtime or after work and go for a swim. It's the nighttime kayaking. It's the eateries. It's the food markets. It's the mountain climbing. It's whatever you want. If you want to be near nature, then West Cork is a fantastic proposition.
Exactly, yeah. Thank you, Fiona. Thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us here on the Cork Creative podcast. If you want to learn more about Ludgate and its offerings, you can find out more on the Cork Creative website.
Thanks, Geraldine.